What is going on, guys? It's Cody Wynn. As you know, hopefully I won't say that in every video because I know it's probably redundant to hear over and over again. But today I want to share my personal testimony with you in regards to my wrestle, my struggle, or whatever you want to call it in regards to identity. And obviously getting convicted in the moment. Most importantly, my overcoming of that struggle, which is really where the testimony comes in the first place. So I don't want to give glory to my failure, but rather to God's transformation. So with that being said, when I gave my life to Jesus, I was 17 years old. I gave my life to Jesus on January 21st of 2017. And I was 17 years old, and January 21st of 2016, excuse me. And when I had done that, even before salvation, I should explain, my story isn't like crazy in regards to traumatic. I never really had much of any trauma in my life. I was never like touched wrong as a kid. I was never beaten. I had really awesome parents. I mean, they're still awesome, but like when they were parenting me, really awesome parents, really awesome home life. I mean, I really had very little I could complain about, like genuinely complain about. And, as I grew up, when I hit 4th grade, I started watching porn, as many of you know, and that addiction stuck with me till 17 when I gave my life to Jesus. But in the process of that, I never had this big identity dilemma, right? Most people have some sort of traumatic incident that happened in their life, and they identify with that. Because they can identify with that, they make it their identity. So because you identify with it, it make it your identity. Like I identify with getting angry, right? But I would never tell you that my identity is an angry person, right? But a lot of people do this with the things that they've gone through in their lives. So anyways, when I gave my life to Jesus, I was like shook. I was rocked, overwhelmed, started taking this thing seriously, reading my Bible daily without fail, spending time on my knees, hours and hours on my knees, and started growing in my faith. And I remember when I was reading through, as I said, I read every single day of my life without fail. It didn't take me long before I got to Ephesians in the New Testament. And Ephesians is a book of the Bible that is very, 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 very thick in identity. It's like the biggest identity book in the Bible, really. I would venture to believe or argue or whatever you want to say that. And I started reading through it, and I remember just being like, wow, this stuff is really powerful. And when I saw how powerful it was, I was like, okay, this is something that I really need to like soak in. So I would take a week and I'd read through Ephesians, 6 chapters long, and I would pray through it and just be like, God, make me more of these things and believe these things. And that was it. And then the next week I would move on. And then I would go on to my next topics and stuff like that. Yet there's a kind of a weird issue, because when we're reading the Bible, there's something wrong if we're constantly reading it, gaining a bunch of head knowledge, but not gaining a bunch of wisdom, meaning actually like living out that thing. Like James 1 says, hearers of the word aren't justified, but it's the doers of the word that are justified. And Romans 5 goes on to clarify on the same point. And I knew that, and it was very clear to me, and I was like way for that, right? So I would read through Matthew, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to change so much, so I'd change all of it. And then, Mark, Luke, John, and then, Acts, Romans, Corinthians, etc. And I would always be like, whoa, I need to change this, and I can't move on until I do. So I would do those things. And then when I would do those things, it would be like crazy transformation, awesome stuff. And then when I hit this topic, I prayed over it for a week like I did every other topic, really, and this one just didn't budge. So I kind of just moved on, because that was like, I kind of got in like a habit of doing this. And then, 6 months or so would go by, and I'd like, the Spirit would just really pull me back to going through Ephesians again. And I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is such good stuff. Like, I don't know why I ever left it in the first place, since I knew I wasn't like through it. So went and did the exact same thing over again. Exact same thing. And I just went on to the next topic. After a week of not like getting real like thick transformation from it. So then after that, I went through it a third time about 6 months later. And this process went on over and over and over again for 3 years. And one day, again, I believe that the Lord spoke to my heart. I didn't hear an audible voice. You can just say that I'm hearing things and I need to go see a doctor or something maybe. But I heard my heart. I heard this phrase. Do you believe I'm real? And I was like, it was like just a weird out of the blue question, which is kind of how Jesus does a lot of things. But It was kind of like one of those like a conversation with God, like, well, duh. And then it was like, well, you have not changed really at all in your identity, in your belief of this identity idea. And I was just like, yeah, I know. And he was like, do I say if you diligently seek me, you'll find me? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so that means in this topic too, right? And I was like, yeah, sure, Lord. And he was like, so that means that there's one of two options. I'm either fake and this thing isn't real, or if you diligently, not for a week, diligently seek me in your identity, I'm going to transform it radically, right? And I was like, yeah. And it was one of those like, then you know what to do. And from that point, it was like, it was a conviction, it was an encouragement, it was a challenge, it was like a mind-blowing kind of like, well, duh, like obviously, right? Like why would I have not thought about that, right? Like obviously he says he's going to do it, so he's going to do it, right? And me not living in a point of faith in that area, it really halted my growth and my identity. And then I had to look and say, not that like the past 3 years are wasted. I don't want to be like melodramatic with it, but like to recognize how much different things could have been if I would have actually just taken my identity seriously, and maybe done the things that I know I probably should have been doing in regards to taking that identity seriously. And I didn't know what I was about to get into, obviously, but I was like so ready for the challenge, because that's how the Lord always is, and I get excited for those things and the pruning that was going to be involved. But it was by far the most time-consuming transformation that was ever done in my life to this day in regards to my Christian walk. Because I didn't get it like very quickly in like a week, like I usually would get things in my Christian walk. So that was a bit of a wrestle, but like it didn't bother me a bit. I was just like, no, Jesus said be disciplined. I'm going to be disciplined. Period. End of discussion. Like no debating. Like I'm going to be disciplined because he said to be. So what I did is I went through the book of Ephesians, and I wrote down all of the statements that God said I am, meaning my identity. I wrote down all those statements plus a few other oddball ones and the rest of the New Testament. I wrote those in a book, and I ended up reading through those every single day, and not only reading through them, but I would actually read them aloud. And I'm not going to give a ton more because I'm going to go through it later in the course itself to explain. But through this process, the transformation, the way I explained it to people was, it was very slowly and then all at once. Very slowly and then all at once. And I'm not trying to make a religiosity thing out of this. I'm not trying to make you need to do X, Y, and Z spiritual kind of things like I did to get the nothing and then all at once. Like I'm not trying to get you to repeat my process in the slowly and then all at once. But I'm just sharing my testimony with you on what happened to me. And when it hit hard, and it changed my life literally forever. And now being on the other side of it, I recognize how much of a lack it is in the Christian church. And I assure you, you don't know how much this is negatively affecting you not knowing and believing your identity, until you're on the other side of it and go, wow, I lived in such a deceived place until now. Again, I'm not saying that you're going to hell. I'm not saying that Jesus doesn't love you. I'm just saying he wants so badly for you to recognize these things, and we should take it seriously because of that reason. So for that reason, that right there is kind of the story that brought me to where I am in regards to identity. I'm not here sitting telling you that there's nothing I've ever done incorrectly in regards to my identity and believing my identity or living it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying God has really taken me somewhere that I believe that the majority of the church hasn't gone. And I believe God's got me in this position to help other people and equip other people in getting there. So hopefully that is encouraging to you. I want to preface that this was not, again, an overnight thing. It took me a minute, but I want to see God do a huge move in your all's life. So let's keep going and see what God does.